What's up? My name's Glueboy, welcome back to the channel, and I promised, last upload, I would talk about him. The man who, if you've been around my channel for any, large amount of time, you would notice, in the same sentence where I disparage them, whenever I talk about Eldar, I immediately clarify, yeah, but Eldrad's great. Because he is. Eldrad is fantastic. He's the absolute coolest because he's the only Eldar who's actively doing something. Because, okay, so a lot of Eldar are kind of content to roam around, make sure their, situation's okay, muddle in some other little things, but nothing major. Some get involved, but not a lot, and they don't try to. They're a pretty small race, so getting involved in a lot of conflicts is pretty bad, because, a loss of 10,000 is serious. When you compare it to 10,000 humans dying, it's that's nothing. It's a drop in the bucket of the trillions upon trillions of humans. But Eldrad is specifically I am going to fix the situation for the Eldar. I want us to not be a dying race anymore, so I'm gonna do things to stop it. Also, fuck chaos. I'm gonna destroy chaos. But who exactly is Eldrad? Eldrad Ulthran is a pretty high up member of Craft World Uthway, which is the coolest craft world. I mean, look at them, this is dope. And he is a Farseer. And a Farseer, for those who don't know, is a really cool warlock who's on the path of the seer and got lost to it. Like I mentioned in my Craft World Eldar video, all the Eldar follow these paths, these college majors you go into and you gotta work around. But if you go too focused in it, you can be lost to the path and just only do that. You min-max the path. And unlike the Exarchs, so the path of the warrior, the Farseers don't really lose their personalities. They kind of stay intact, and they're just really powerful psychers. Because that's the thing, Eldrad is fucking terrifying when it comes to magic. Eldar magic is already scary, like a cool spell called Doom, where they literally bend fate, so even a minor injury is now fated to kill you. A glancing bullet wound is now a fatal heart shot. So yeah, Eldrad, terrifying spellcaster. Oh, and it gets better because Farseers also can actually read the future using Wraith runes and foretell future events. And Eldrad, from everything I've read, is the best at it. We have a lot of characters with future sight. They can tell what's gonna happen in the future. They get visions and dreams and all that. We have Sanguinius and Conrad Kurz and the Emperor. All three of them have it. However, Eldrad's the best at it. He can always tell what is going to happen, what is destined in fate, because in Warhammer, some visions are changeable, malleable. You can affect the outcome. You can see it and change it before that happens. And then sometimes, as Sanguinius and Eldrad both note, the true visions have this special feel to them. You can tell this one's destined to happen and is unchangeable. Eldrad can always tell. And which is really fucking funny because no one listens to him sometimes. He'll give a vision hey, I have a really good track record with this shit. This is going to happen. And then people are what are you talking about? It's not like you've been right every other time, annoyingly. So he is the best at it, and he has a lot of very clear visions in comparison to some others. Still, all future sight stuff is very poetic and metaphorical and dreamlike, so he's just really good at parsing them. And as well, he's, a high-ranking member of Craft World Uthway, which is the biggest craft world. So his leadership, or at least part of the leadership, doing pretty well for themselves since, they did really, really well. But for Eldrad himself, we first kind of know about him 10,000 years ago during the Horus Heresy. So Eldrad is most likely older. We don't actually know how long Eldar live, I don't think, but he's over 10,000 years old because he's still kicking in 40k. And he's most likely older than that because he seemed pretty well established in his appearance in the Horus Heresy, because specifically, he shows up pretty early on to warn Fulgrim that Horus is gonna go traitor. He saw the Horus Heresy and is well, we gotta actually do something. The only problem, despite the actual good call of telling Fulgrim, because Fulgrim will actually hear you out, the problem is Fulgrim had already got the Lair Blade, the sword that had a Slaanesh Keeper of Secrets in it. Obviously, the Eldar and Slaanesh have a bit of bad beef, so it broke down pretty quickly and kind of turned into a shit show where Eldrad pointed out, ah, fuck, you're already tainted by chaos, ah, shit. They started fighting. Eldrad summoned the Avatar of Cain, an avatar of the god of murder and war, and Fulgrim fought his way out of it, and then virus bombed a bunch of Eldar planets. You know, a measured response for sure. This obviously painted humans in a pretty shit light when it came to Eldrad. He did not trust them, because obviously if they're just gonna do this when he's trying to help, what's the point of trusting them? But that didn't stop him from helping still. He did a lot of good shit. One of the other methods he would actually help situations during the Horus Heresy was intervening in the Cabal. The Cabal is essentially the alien Illuminati. They're in control of a lot of shit. They've been like around since the beginning of time, like the sentient races other than the old ones popped up. It's like a whole big deal. And they also saw the Horus Heresy happening. But, you know, their far-seeing was a little shittier than Eldrad's. So they believed that there were two options for this war. That Horus wins. He takes over Terra, kills everyone, good job. And then the traitor forces start backstabbing each other and also fighting between each other, essentially getting in such a big turf war that all of humanity dies. And now Chaos, who is like really banking on humans to be a thing, and that's like one of their main food sources, also starves itself, fizzles out, and at least becomes like way less powerful. A good deal, since the Cabal's one of their main goals is getting rid of Chaos. The second option is Horus loses, the Emperor is enthroned on the Golden Throne, and the universe is destined to a very slow, stagnating death. And we have like, you know, a shelf life of 10,000 to 20,000 years. You know, the 40k timeline where we are now. Now, Eldrad noted that this was fucking stupid. Because while hindsight tells us that one of the options was true, he noted that like these options weren't set in stone. You know, he could sense that. He's like, this isn't fucking true. Also, Cabal, you're fucking morons if you think the right idea is allowing a large chunk of the universe to die. That's a bad deal. So he got involved. And one of the methods he got involved was killing them. He worked with a loyalist word bearer and killed almost every Cabal member to the point where now it's not an organization anymore, much to some people's happiness, since the Cabal, I haven't read that far in the Horus Heresy, apparently it gets real stupid. As well, if you're a Vulcan fan out there, Eldrad should be your boy. Eldrad is the main reason that Vulcan showed up to the Siege of Terra, because Eldrad, during this whole thing with the Cabal, realized there's a fucking third option. If we just help the Imperium win better, we can prevent stagnation. Surprisingly, no one else thought of this. So one of his methods was he knew Vulcan was integral to the Siege of Terra. So he intervened on his assassination with John Grammaticus, a perpetual who worked for the Cabal, who was going to murder Vulcan. He convinced him, hey man, what if instead you were freed from the Cabal, you helped humanity because you're a human and you're trying to fuck over your human race, that's kind of dog of you, and also we can help you not be perpetual anymore, give it to Vulcan. Eventually John did, and Vulcan was saved, and Eldrad actually got like a memento from Vulcan for helping out, like this Drake tooth from Nocturne. Like a memento of peace and like thankfulness, which also Eldrad was disguised as an old human, so that probably benefited a little. But Vulcan then was actually able to get to the siege, and he played a massive role, because if he wasn't there, no one would have defended the Imperial Palace from Magnus, who was sulking around the basement, who was literally going to destroy everything until Vulcan showed up and beat his ass. And then this wouldn't be the last interaction with Vulcan and Eldrad, because during the War of the Beast, the one where actually Vulcan returned and helped out the Imperium against a giant orc Wa, big deal, not that important of a story though. Eldrad sent some dudes, his team, and a bunch of Harlequins to send a message to the Imperial Palace to deliver a message of peace and diplomacy to the Emperor himself. A message of peace so powerful, so diplomatic, they killed everyone who stood in their way. They got to Terra, they're like, we're here for peace, we're gonna help. And then they walked their way to the Imperial Palace, to the throne room, and killing everybody in their way. Real peaceful. And then, yeah, the fucking message they delivered, by the way, was something bigger is going to happen soon. See ya, and then they left. Real elf of you to, like, this one's stupid. I love Eldrad. I'll support him to like the day he dies and turns to a crystal, because that's what Farseers do. They turn into crystals when they die. I don't get this one. I don't understand. You could have just sent a letter. Also, I should address the elephant in the room. It is said that a lot of Harlequins killed a lot of custodians in this event. And it is true. a lot of Imperium people will cope that no, the author didn't mean custodians. He meant the other guys. He meant like regular guardsmen. And listen, I'm not gonna complain that, you know, your super soldiers killed my super soldiers. The main point is, you know, mine get books, mine get named characters, I get new models. Your shit's from like, you know, the Bush era. It better stay that way. And then we got a couple little other events which are pretty fun. Like Ghazghkull. You know Ghazghkull, the big, the prophet of Gork and Mork? He exists because of Eldrad. Eldrad saw a vision that he needed to kind of fuck with the orcs. He does a lot of that. He does a lot of like chess games to like save the elf population because he noticed if Ghazghkull did not rise to power, then Craftworld Eandon would just fucking die. So he did. He worked with the orcs, he like subtly, he stoked them up a little bit, got them all riled up until a cool war boss showed up. And then he promptly pointed them at a funny little planet, a goofy little nowhere place called Armageddon. Eldrad's responsible for the Second War of Armageddon. You know, Ghazghkull and Commissar Yarrick, then later Armageddon 3 and 4. Yeah, that's all him. Which also, like, on one hand, you could be like, damn, that's real fucked up if you just kill a bunch of humans. In his eyes, you know, again, to save all of Craftworld Eandon, which is like 10,000 Eldar, compared to like the loss of a couple million humans, that's really nothing. I see his point, despite being a human, I get it. On the other hand, like, I can't be mad at him because we got Commissar Yarrick out of this. And he's the coolest. I think everyone can agree to that. And then some other stuff. Now, I am a big Abaddon simp. I think Abaddon, the spoiler, he's actually cool. Y'all are just mean. I have a video on him, go watch it. Eldrad beat his ass, because Abaddon was trying to do a funky little scheme, like, damn, this elf keeps fucking with me. I'm gonna break into his craft world, like, open a portal to the Seer Council he's on and kill them all. Eldrad then beat his ass, and the only reason Abaddon survived is because the Chaos Gods poofed him out of there. Like a last second before he was just stabbed by his big dumb staff. I don't know, there's not like anything major there, I just think it's kind of funny. And then last random event that Eldrad kind of promoted. You know, some of you might have already said this, but when I said Eldrad's the only elf that's actively doing something and trying to fix a situation, that's technically wrong. There is a second, someone by the name of Yvraine. She's only here and prominent because of Eldrad. I've been saying that a lot in this video. Everything comes back to him. So Yvraine was revived by the Eldar god Ynead, who is the Eldar god of death. Eldrad was trying to revive him because when Slaanesh popped up, all the Eldar gods kind of died or like went to a weird hibernation state. Ynead is like going to wake up eventually, but Eldrad wanted to provoke it to have him pop out earlier. Because if they have the death god back, that means the Eldar can regain their cycle of life and death. Hello, it's me in post. I left some details out. It's a lot more complicated than that. Because in reality, the plan is to get every single Eldar soul in the Infinity Circuits, which are big-ass, like, crystal machines that hold all the souls of a craft world, is, like, dead. And if everyone gets in the Infinity Circuit, then all these souls will just power up Ynead, because the more elves that die, the stronger he gets. Which then, once every elf is dead, they will basically create one big super being, Ynead, to murder Slaanesh, free them from their curse, and then be reborn as a new, better race. Like Elf 2.0. That's what this really is. I was a little reductive, so expanding on it before you elf nerds will get to me first. A pretty big fucking deal. So he set out to do a giant ritual to awake him. He did a lot of maneuvering, because the area he had to do it on was in Imperial space, which was actually really close in that perfect magical sweet spot of Slaanesh's birth. He would raise the ritual, only to get interrupted by the Death Watch Space Marine chapter, who hate any alien. They rolled up, they started fighting. There's a funny little exchange where Harlequin's like, would you really, like, risk your lives? Risk millions of humans just to kill us? And the captain of the Death Watch was like, yes. And then shot him in the face. Which is fucking hilarious. That's peak Space Marine. Obviously, the ritual went poorly. It got interrupted real bad. So bad that the Farseers just straight up were teleporting out of there. They were doing a ritual like just fucking teleport, get to the webway, we have to get out. So bad that 3 Farseers died in the process of casting the spell because it was just really draining. A action that like Eldrad got punished for. He was banished from Ulthran, like for this action. He was way too arrogant on it. However, he awoke Yennead for just a little bit. He was like appearing and waking up, which is the moment that Yennead revived Yvraine and like promoted her as his champion. And now the Ynnari are a thing. People who are devoted to the god of death, who are trying to get the cycle back. And I think they're actually pretty successful right now. I know a couple of them have like their souls back and not claimed by Slaanesh. So that's something. And now Eldrad is banished. Well, not right now. Recently, he's back in the craft world. But he's working with the Ynnari. He's doing a lot of shit to actually help them and further their goals. Which, good on him. That's very cool of you. And yeah, that's really all there is. Just a bunch of little stories of Eldrad appearing in moments where he's actually kind of needed and helps out, or is the cause of something, which is dope. I fucking really enjoy this guy. He's much like in Warhammer Fantasy, I now like Warhammer Fantasy elves, Teclis. Teclis is great. What a fucking guy. He's so cool and like genuinely a great dude. Eldrad kind of fits that boat. Just read a book where Eldrad shows up. He's always really entertaining and a really well-written character, which is rare for elves, to be completely honest. I don't like that your faction, Eldar players, I don't like any of it. Some of y'all have some bad track records with books where authors hate your faction and then treat them like shit. My condolences, but I can't relate. And I'm very happy I can't relate. But yeah, that's gonna be it. Yeah, if you like this, like, comment, subscribe, do that stuff. Next video is gonna be a big one, so stay tuned, and